Hello YouTube family, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Sharida and welcome. In today's video, we are getting into all things cafe. So I'm going to give you mostly coffee fragrances, absolutely, but I also want to feature a scent combination that will give you a chai tea experience. So no matter what your picks are at your local Starbucks, these will have you smelling just like your favorite drinks, okay? So I find that this is the perfect time to get into fragrances like this. And these are all quite stunning. And I'm also very happy to announce that this video is done in partnership with ScentSplit. If you are new here, I am a huge proponent of trying these fragrances out before you buy. So many factors go into how we perceive a scent. Not only are our noses different, things are going to wear differently just depending on where you live in the world. What is the weather doing? What is your body chemistry doing? What time of the month it is for me personally. And you never want to commit and buy that full bottle without really knowing if this is something that you A, love, or B, will find it practical to wear. So it really does bring me so much joy to be doing this video in partnership with a company that I have trusted and purchased from for years. I have only been into fragrance for about 5 years, but you better believe for 5 years, ScentSplit has been my #1 go-to for decants. They have a vast array of fragrance selections, so you can get all of your different size decants to try before you buy. But what I love about them is they're also a resource. You can just go right back to that same retailer and purchase the full bottle, because many times you will be able to save. Every time I load up my cart with samples from ScentSplit and purchase, I'm automatically gifted a code to apply towards that full bottle or future purchases, okay? So with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into today's video of cafe fragrances. So this first fragrance we're going to dive into is one I have a sample of. Now, all of the things we're going to discuss here, other than this one, will be fragrances I have a full bottle of, so I really do know them intimately. But this one right here, this sample really did surprise me, and I am considering a full bottle of this one, okay? So this is called Mr. Espresso, and this is done from a house actually quite new to me, ATRIUM. Never heard of them before, no experience with the brand, but I do know that I am in love with Mr. Espresso. So this fragrance is of course going to feature a really dark, delicious coffee note. And you also have touches of like a dark chocolate, and it's spicy, it's sweet and spicy. So as I started to wear this, it vaguely started to remind me of Minuit at Demi. Not in a way that they are dupes of each other or anything like that, but that very present cardamom, you have that in this fragrance along with that coffee. But this one to me wears just a touch more masculine. So if you are someone who enjoyed Minuit at Demi, where I feel like that one is unisex leaning feminine, this one, it just slightly leans masculine, and it almost has like this aromatic or sexy edge to it. There is a leather featured in here, but it's not anything overdone and that sticks out. You just know that there is something alongside of this sweet coffee, dark chocolate experience that is lending to the sexy quality other than the spicy notes. And it has to be that amorous and leather featured in the base. It also has a beautiful touch of cedar wood, again lending to that slightly masculine edge, but this is really quite unisex. It really is. So don't let me saying that it leans slightly masculine think that this is something that's going to lean very masculine, okay? Where again, I feel like Minuit at Demi from Fragrance Du Bois is right over the edge and leaning slightly feminine. This one is just the inverse. So try this one out if you are looking for a truly sexy coffee gourmand fragrance. So Mr. Espresso opens with top notes of cardamom, nutmeg, and pink pepper. You have middle notes of cedar wood, cocoa bean, and coffee, and you have base notes of amorous, iris, and leather. It's beautifully balanced. It's actually on the lower end for a niche fragrance, $140 for a full bottle, and it has amazing longevity. So check this one out, because I do not think you will be disappointed if you love unisex coffee-centered fragrances, all right? Again, that one is Mr. Espresso from the house of ATRIUM, a ScentSplit exclusive. So this next fragrance combo is going to make you smell like a true to form, creamy, frothy Starbucks chai latte. That's exactly what it's giving. And you all know, whenever I talk about Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille, I always reference, I don't know why, but I'm getting like this chai tea experience. This has a richness, a complexity, a little tobacco, but it can be polarizing. This, for some reason, is really love or hate. Either you think that it smells smoky, like as in smoke, cigarette, because tobacco blossom can do that. I don't get that from this fragrance. I get something that smells sweet, rich, spicy, vanilla forward, and just honestly, it smells like chai. It smells like chai to me, all right? And what you're going to do is you are going to layer this one right here, tried and true, with BLANCOCO chocolate. I talked about this one on a recent video. I had a sample, honey. We have upgraded to a full bottle, and Scent Split was so kind enough to upgrade me, and I really thank them for that. But this is a fragrance that is supposed to smell like white chocolate, and you're literally smelling like a creamy, delicious vanilla Tootsie Roll, or you can even liken it to a white chocolate, which is kind of what they were going for in this fragrance. But what I love about this is that it is, I would say, on a lighter wearing side, more like scent bubble. It's not going to be too loud, thick and sweet. It's not like a Bianco latte at all to me. But when you layer these together, you're going to get something spicy, comforting, indulgent, lots of vanilla, and literally Starbucks chai latte. That is what I get. So if you are trying to smell like that, because I just had one last night and it was sending me, you can literally smell like that as you step out into the world as it starts to cool down. So Tobacco Vanille opens with notes of tobacco leaf and spicy notes. You have middle notes of vanilla, cacao, tonka bean, and tobacco blossom. And you have base notes of dried fruits and woody notes. This is just like quintessential fall in a bottle for me, okay? I love to bring this out every year. So BLANCOCO chocolate opens with notes of almond milk, butter, anise, sugar, and powdery notes. You have middle notes of white chocolate, coconut milk, tonka bean, and heliotrope. And you have base notes of vanilla absolute, patchouli, and cacao. A match made in heaven. Get this combo in your life. I'm telling you, you will love it. Again, this one is Tobacco Vanille from Tom Ford, and this is BLANCOCO chocolate from LUMI. Now let's get into a really beautiful, creamy, vanilla forward take on CAFÉ, and this is from the house of TOMAVICCI, and this is XANAT. So when I first tried XANAT, I was instantly reminded of Escapade Gourmand from Maison Mataha, and as it starts to wear and develop on the skin, it actually turned into something that wore a little richer and a little bit more complex, and there was a depth to the fragrance, whereas I would not describe Escapade Gourmand to be that way. Escapade is very creamy, milky, very vanilla forward, warm, sweet sugar gourmand. You're getting that scent almost like the base, okay? You're going to get that in the underlying presence of the fragrance, but they have added things in this fragrance that kicks it up and takes it into that sensual category, and that will mainly come from the addition of coffee and dark chocolate. So XANAT opens with notes of dark chocolate and brown sugar, middle notes of coffee and a vanilla absolute, and you have base notes of tonka, benzoin, and musk. Now, if you have Escapade Gourmand, again, why we love to sample things. You may think they're a little too similar or find some redundancy if you already own that one. So get a sample and see if there's enough variation. A lot of people actually prefer XANAT over Escapade Gourmand, but again, you are adding a different layer of complexity to it from those added notes. So try this one out. It definitely will give you a lot better performance as far as the projection. But again, this one is XANAT, and this is from TOMAVICCI. Now, let's get into another coffee, vanilla centered fragrance that wears with, you know, a lot of gourmandiness to it. But I do love the fact that they have added this amaretto, and it really does make all the difference because it kind of sets it apart from all of the other coffee fragrances that I've talked about in today's video. And that is Amore Cafe. This is a gorgeous one from MANCERA. When you put this on, there is something just really rich and addictive about it, and you cannot stop smelling it. It is going to vaguely remind you of, you know, these facets of Intense Cafe, but you have to imagine that without the rose. You're going to add an almond element to it, and you're going to get something similar. But when I'm not in the mood to smell that really robust, heavy rose, this is going to be perfect because that's exactly what you're getting. So if you're not familiar, MANCERA, Montal, they are sister companies, and like this is just, again, fall in a bottle. You want something that is going to wear, I would say, beyond scent bubble, but not as loud of a beast as we're used to with MANCERA. This is going to be a perfect pick. Now, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. Again, all the more reason to pick up a decant to see if this is something that you find full bottle worthy. So Amore Cafe opens with notes of coffee and amaretto. You have middle notes of ice cream and speculoos, and you have base notes of brown sugar, vanilla, and ambergris. What I get from this one is definitely something amaretto and ambery. They are saying ambergris. I don't necessarily feel like I'm getting something gray amber-like. I really do feel it wears more like a traditional, you know, brown or syrupy sweet amber, but you get a huge dose of that vanilla and coffee, and that is just perfect in my book, all right? So again, this one is Amore Cafe, and this is from MANCERA. Now, this next pick is a super luxurious fragrance, okay? The price point will reflect that, but I'm telling you, if you get yourself a sample and you try Prodigy for Mind Games, you're probably going to want to pick up that full bottle. This is going to give you a rose latte coffee type of an experience, and it's so rich and creamy. It doesn't go too sweet. It doesn't get too lactonic. And I just think that this rose and patchouli is done in the most beautiful, almost like soft-handed way, but you're still getting those notes without it being too loud, punchy, and strong on either of those notes. It is perfectly blended like so many Mind Games fragrances are. And I think this is one of the most beautiful rose and coffee fragrances in my collection. So Prodigy opens with notes of rose milk, cinnamon, and bergamot. You have heart notes of langosta flower, milk, coffee, and patchouli. And you have base notes of blonde woods, sandalwood, and vanilla. When I talk about this, I always want to reference, if you look at Fragrantica as a reference, it's going to have very different notes, very different breakdown of what you can maybe expect in the olfactive pyramid. So what I get from this is a creamy, frothy rose coffee scent with a very slight patchouli nuance to it. And again, the notes from Mind Games Direct is a little bit more indicative of what you can expect from the scent. So if the idea of smelling like a frothy rose milk coffee type of, you know, Dubai experience, then I think Prodigy is absolutely the pick you need to try, all right? So this one again is from Mind Games, and this is Prodigy. Last but not least, honey, you knew I would not do anything cafe coffee centered for a video without featuring my favorite of all time, Vietnamese coffee, Nuclear Performance, okay? So when I tell you this little small bottle is all you will need for quite some time, this is all you will need. This has got to be the most breathtaking, unique coffee woody experience that, I mean, am I the only, like, am I the problem? Am I the only one obsessed with this because I don't hear anyone talking about it? Now, it could be that this is something that more men gravitate towards, but I think that this is very unisex. But, and however, you must love woody. The cedar wood in this fragrance is actually what makes it so special and so beautiful and complex. And it's just like, I don't know how they came up with this scent, but it sends a chill up my spine every time I smell it. It is so intoxicating. It's rich. It's a touch sweet. It's just everything you want to smell like if you want to really wow, turn heads, start a conversation from your fragrance. So Vietnamese coffee opens with top notes of coffee. You have middle notes of dark chocolate, condensed milk, and lily of the valley. And you have base notes of tonka bean, cedarwood, and amber. There is a condensed milk mentioned, but it does not wear in a traditional lactonic way. Like, I don't get anything from that. You get a sweetness from that note being featured in it, but that's about it. Because of the lily of the valley, because of the way the tonka bean wears in this fragrance, it almost comes off as a touch powdery. And I think that really does help to balance the condensed milk note that they mentioned in the fragrance. But it is all in all an experience. If you're looking for something with the wow factor that doesn't smell like any other coffee in your collection, or you can even layer with it to add a, you know, a touch of sexy, Vietnamese coffee from the House of Da Nam is spectacular. 12 out of 10 coffee scent in my book. All right, you guys, so that is it for me. These are fragrances that feature cafe notes that you really do need to get on your nose. Perfect wears for all fall and winter. Cannot wait to do my deep dive into these as it starts to cool down, because yesterday I got up and I tell you, I immediately had turned that fireplace downstairs because it was cold. Like, what is going on? Like, the leaves have just started to change here in Georgia, but I am really looking forward to some true crisp fall air. All right, so all of these fragrances, you guys, are available at Scent Split, and they got 1, 2, 5, 9 mils and the full bottles for majority of these. So be sure to shop, use my discount code because you can save your 10%. All of the information will be in the description box along with the links to each fragrance. All right, so it has been real. Thank you so much to Scent Split for partnering with me on today's video. I love you all, YouTube, and I will catch you guys on the next one.